this next one's just interesting to me. There was Cornell University had done a study, and they asked students who were involved in student organizations like fraternities and sororities if they talk about the kinds of activities that they underwent as part of their pledging process. So 37% of these students indicated that they'd been involved in at least one activity that the researchers defined as having met the definition of hazing. But only 12% of the students identified that they had been hazed or felt like they'd been hazed. So there's a gap, obviously about 25% there, where students probably stuff that was being done to them or they were participating in met the legal definition of hazing, but they didn't even realize they'd done it. And that's one of the things about hazing, I think it may be on one of our next slides, is that consent is not a defense. As students, because they want to be in your group, they want to join. That's why they've decided to pledge you. So their consent to do things with you doesn't make it not hazing. So that's why you've got to know what the law says and be very, very careful in planning things. So what does hazing include? Any type of physical brutality, and it lists all manner of things there. I think that's pretty obvious that that would be not good. Physical activity, sleep deprivation, exposure to the elements, confinement, calisthenics, and it goes on and talks about that. Let me tell you a quick story about why sleep deprivation reminded me why this law was passed in the first place. Does anybody know? Remember the story? We talked about it last year, I think.
Tech kid that got broke, or they made him drink and got a car accident.
Actually, they were sleep deprived. Yeah, they're come back from a weekend retreat, and it was like a sleep deprivation retreat experience thing. And they were driving back to campus after it, and the driver fell asleep. The car crashed, and the young man lost his life. And one of the state representatives from that district knew the family and said, "Hey, I'm going to try to do something about this, so this won't happen to another family again." And but you have the right idea, and probably there was some drinking that had gone on that weekend, I'm sure as well. But I think the sleep deprivation was what was law enforcement at least acknowledged was the reason for the accident. All right, moving right along. Consumption types of things, being forced to consume, food, liquid, alcoholic beverage, and on and on. And it can be something harmless. They've had attorneys where members have died basically by drowning their organs through heavy consumption of water. Like they were given this task, you have to drink all this water, and then it actually just shut their system down. I know some of you probably have done the gallon challenge with milk in your group. And again, I don't know if anybody that's ever actually died from that, but it's probably not a really great idea. It's basically impossible when you're going to throw up, so why do it? Any activity that intimidates or threatens a student, and it lists again all kinds of things: ostracism, mental stress, shame, humiliation, or that would adversely affect their mental health and dignity. So again, I'm going to trust you to read all this and be familiar with all of it. And then any activity which induces, causes, or requires a student to do something illegal. That would be the case. And I do want to say this as well. I really believe that when your organization, you're planning your big events, and I know right now, for those of you that aren't pledging organizations, I'm sorry we can't hazing for a minute. We'll get on to some other things. And I really believe that your large group events that you're going to do during your pledging season are going to be good and positive events. Again, the goal we always need to keep in mind is that people are going to hopefully learn about your group. Like, what does it mean to be a member of XYZ organization? It shouldn't be about jumping through random miscellaneous hoops for 6 weeks and kind of some kind of power trip. Because if that's the spirit of it, you're already off on the wrong foot. You're probably going to have problems. And I do think, though, most of the time, your larger group gatherings during pledging are probably going to be good events for people to learn. The thing that concerns me, and should concern you, and that's why you need to take this information and really teach your people about it, are those individual activities that are required for a signature. Again, it should be about getting to know their future brothers and sisters on a personal level and spending time with them. It shouldn't be about being errand boy or errand girl or just goofy stuff like that. And also just be sure that you're not asking members aren't asking potential members, pledges, to go and do anything it's going to be illegal, or it's going to threaten somebody else, or they're not taking stuff from people, anything like that. That you won't want to have to deal with the consequences individually or as an organization if that kind of thing is taking place. This is the next part about the law that says that a person can, it talks about what the person would do to commit a hazing offense, and it defines a little bit more there. But I've underlined for you there that a person's consent to hazing activity does not legalize the activity. So again, you need to know that. You can't say, well, they want to do it. It doesn't matter. And then hazing violations can result in not only campus discipline, but also civil litigation and even criminal consequences. There are pretty hefty fines, and that's in our handbook. You can look it up. Fines and jail time for hazing offenses. So just don't want you to go there. All right, let's look at sexual abuse and harassment for a moment. I got behind it, didn't I? All right. It's back again. There. This is, again, out of the Howard Payne Handbook, and so I want you to be familiar with this, to know what sexual harassment is. It is a form of gender or sex discrimination occurring when unwanted attention of a sexual nature interferes with a person's ability to obtain an education, to work, or to participate in a recreational or social activity at the university. It can occur between two people of the same sex, provided that the unwanted sexual attention is based on the target's gender. Typically, it's going to be opposite sex harassment, but as it says, it can even be same-sex harassment. So people just need to be aware of that as well. We do have a zero tolerance policy as a university, and all students are prohibited in engaging this, and definitely encouraged to report it if it's discovered or if it's happened to you or happened to someone that you know. It can take many forms, verbal expressions, visual or electronic means of communicating. It could be something on the internet or a poster or picture, depiction, drawing, anything like that. Obviously, physical contact, threats or demands, sort of that behavior where it's called, the law calls it quid pro quo, but if you do this, kind of, or else, you're going to lose some privilege or opportunity. And then retaliation, if retaliation takes place because of a reported incident, really matters only get worse at that point. The university definitely recognizes the seriousness and prevalence of sexual assaults and other sex offenses on college campuses. So obviously we want people to just use good judgment, to be wise, but if something has happened, to report it so that, A, we can just get that person taken care of, but also that the appropriate law enforcement or campus discipline processes can be undertaken. We need to be sure to do that. Well, we don't have fraternity and sorority houses at the university, so some of those issues of fire safety are not going to be a concern. But there are places where either fire safety or just being aware of weapons could be an issue. Can you think of any? What?
Like campouts.
Yeah, campouts would be one. You may, obviously all the way from you're grilling food on a fire, or you have a campfire, to the sort of things that you're making sure you keep away from your fire pit, gasoline for your four-wheeler or whatever. So things like that. Bonfire. If we have a bonfire this year, as part of our homecoming festivities or at other points during the year, we need to be real careful with that kind of an event. Anything else you can think of?